Good day to you, internets, YouTube, Facebook, um, wherever you may be seeing this. Might be Instagram. But anyways, good day to you. It's February 29th, 12:03 p.m. I'm in Redding, California, down here at From the Hearth in downtown. And yeah, like having a really good day so far. I just had, well, I guess, do I want to do the vlog for the topical? Um, so, um, so I guess I'll stick to the topical right now as far as van life. Last night I had my first knock on the window. I went to Dairy Queen, and oh my gosh, Dairy Queen is freaking expensive. It was like, total tangent, but oh my gosh, like I'm probably not doing that again because it was way too much money. Um, Spent like $16 for a freeze and chicken strips and a little meal with chicken strips, toast, and fries, and way too much money. I could have gone to In-N-Out for much less. But anyways, yeah, so I went to Dairy Queen and just chilled in the parking lot and eating my food and YouTubing. I got tired and I went to bed. And then at about 3:40 ish in the morning, just somebody like a security guard uh, pounding on my door like I was some kind of miscreant, and and shining his light through my window and telling me, "This is private property. Oh, I can see you moving in there." And I'm like, "Okay," even though my windows are tinted, and and so I'm like, and then he threatened to call the police. I'm like, "Dang, dude, it's like I'm literally, I'm sleeping, and 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 I don't know. I mean, society just has weird things about people doing van life, and when you live unconventionally, uh, yeah, they don't like it. But I mean, it's private property, and they can do what they want with it. So I can respect that. But still, I mean, really, like if somebody was on your property and on that part on in your parking lot, and they were like shooting up drugs or doing something illegal, I would understand. But just sleeping, I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So he's made a threat, and so I said to him like, yeah, I'm willing to go, but you're gonna have to go away so I can get dressed, because I was sleeping, and he couldn't, and he said he couldn't hear me, so I opened the window, because it's like I'm in the van, so I had this little, my middle long window, so I just cracked it open and I repeated myself, and he said, oh, I was looking in the window, I was staying close to the van for my safety or something like that, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, like why, like peering into my van with your flashlight and pounding on the window, and that's supposed to keep you safe. Um, I would think that the closer, like, if I did intend danger to you, then would being close to the van make you more safe? I don't think so. Um, and so that kind of didn't make any sense. But I was like, okay, um, and so I got dressed and headed out at 3 or 4 in the morning, and finally found a spot in a residential neighborhood, but near a park entrance. So I wasn't parked in front of a house that was parked near the park entrance, but it was public this time. And I'm like, okay, if somebody chases me off this time, they have to chase me off public property. And but yeah, no. So interesting first time having my window knocked on. I mean, if you haven't heard before, I have a 1993 Dodge Grand Caravan, which is like the epitome of a soccer mom van, and And so yeah, it's like super nondescript, and I haven't had anybody bother me before. Um, and but yeah, no, so I won't be parking in that parking lot again. They would probably recognize me. Um, but but yeah, so interesting experience. Um, it just like it caused me to just think um, like I mean I've thought about this before, but in van life we live non-conventionally, and most people live analogous lives. So what that means is that they look at how other people are living, and then they basically hit repeat and live the way that society tells them explicitly or implicitly to live. And while I respect certain conventions, um, like some people feel compelled to live by the conventions of society, to get a house, to work a job for 30 years or 40 years and then retire, to have 2.5 kids, blah, blah, blah. And I think those are good things. But in van life, we're inherently going against the grain of society. And I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it's basically illegal in cities to live in your vehicle. And 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 why is that? It's like, in that parking lot last night, and this is before I got kicked out of there. Um, but I was just looking over the parking lot, and there's all these parking spaces that are empty, and I just had this vision of how cool would it be if every parking spot had people living van life in it, and people felt comfortable, and society. I don't know if I actually thought this, but wouldn't it be cool if society was comfortable with people living in vans, and there was more freedom in that respect? Because people in vans, they still need to use the bathroom, they still need to brush their teeth, wash their clothes, they still need to eat food. They still need to do a lot of the things that people in brick and sticks homes need to do, just not in an actual house. They do it in their van, or they use social resources. And so I'm curious about the history that I guess I'm curious about the anthropology of living in a house versus living in a vehicle, and like the distinct, like why nomadic living is why in history, at least in America, nomadic living, there's this kind of stigma about it, and and somehow people who live in houses are, I don't know, more respected or thought of as better people or whatever it might be, which isn't true. But society is a funny thing because there are classes. I have a master's degree, and so some people would look at me and say that I was actually a better person than people who didn't have a master's degree. I don't agree with that at all. It's just the path that I chose to take. And or like there are income classes, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know that I'm necessarily against classes, but and having lived in different countries, I've seen many different norms and standards and stereotypes and all these things. I've lived as a minority in other countries. I've seen racism and sexism that affected me negatively. And but I've done my best to respect the culture of the places I've been, and I'll do my best to respect American culture. But notwithstanding, notwithstanding being considerate of the people I care about and honoring relationships, I feel no need to live up to the customs of American culture, because it's predominantly, and not that I don't consume anything, because I do, but it's predominantly consumerist, and then the primary value, one of the primary values of American culture is um, efficiency, not a bad thing, but not a good primary value, and comfort. And not that comfort is a bad thing, but as a primary value, having comfort and and efficiency as primary values lead to certain societal outcomes, and um, and so and I don't think that having those values as primaries is a good driver. Like for me, like van life, it's adventurous, it's experimental, it's outside the norm. And some people live a very comfortable van life, but comparatively speaking, van life is not comfortable compared to living in a house and or living in an apartment. And again, that's fine. Like different people have different values, and I respect those. But for me, like my supreme values are freedom and love. And as I've heard it phrased recently, and I'll say it here again as I did in a previous conversation, some people say that discipline is freedom, and people with the tendency towards meeting inner and outer expectations and or outer expectations, that is a great motto because it works according to the design of their psychology, and the way that they integrate with themselves. But for someone like me, that has a primary value of freedom, I personally don't ascribe to discipline as freedom. What I would say, and maybe I'll find a better way to say this, but um, discipline is not freedom for me. I Freedom is my discipline. So I flip that on its head. Um, and so in that vein, it's important for me to know myself and to know what I value, and to know what I want, and to know what I love. So you could say that freedom is the why and the how, and love is the what. And so it's very difficult for people outside of that particular psychological design to understand people who have different values, especially since people like me and people in van life at this point in history are a vast minority of society. I don't know how many million people, if it's even in the millions, do van life, or mini homes or nomadic life living. But I assume it's much less than people who live in homes and apartments and such. And and so there has to be a reason why people would prefer, and which is totally fine, and I don't judge that, but prefer to live in homes, and others who prefer to live nomadically and travel and have that freedom. And instead of spending their time working a job to slave away and pay a mortgage, like those of us who live in van life and prefer to live debt free, or at least something along those lines, and live minimalistically, and prefer to spend our time engaging in more heartfelt pursuits, because we don't have to pay a lot of debt, and our expenses are a lot less than people who live in stick and brick homes and apartments. And so, I hope that in time, I doubt it will, because there's a lot of closed-minded people out there, but I hope in time society can learn. Yeah, that's way inappropriate, but there's that Martin Luther King speech where he said, "I have a dream," and um, and where his dream was about racial equality and people being seen as equal, and and judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. And something I would like to see in American culture and around the world is people being judged by the content of their character rather than the lifestyle choices that they make. That are not necessarily good or bad. They're not a moral thing, but it becomes a moral issue um, when we look down on people for characteristics that are not necessarily indicative of who they are and who God's created them to be. And so this video is longer than I would usually do. I'm recording on my laptop today, so usually I have that 10-minute limit on my phone. And yeah, just some thoughts there for you on how a delineation of the anthropology of van life and how people view it. And so I'm pretty excited because I'll do one more week of work with my current position. And this week I helped to build a shed, and we got partway there, and so that was really fun and challenging, and gives me ideas for a future time when I may build my own home. I would actually prefer to build an off-grid underground home because there's so many advantages in terms of air conditioning and electricity and such and whatnot. But notwithstanding, I'm really excited about finishing up this coming week, and then I'm probably going to take 1 or more weeks and head over to the Pacific Ocean and find some place where a person can find me and just have some time with God, enjoy nature, and do some processing. I've been engaged in such a hectic, intense life in the last year or two that I haven't really taken much time to defragment and to find some inner peace. I pray often and meditate on occasion, but in the last year, in the last 2 years, I moved from Asia to California. I started teaching English to children online. I started working and clearing land. I wrote 2 books and published 2 books. I went to school to become a truck driver, and I got my commercial driver's license. I quit trucking. I got burned out on that. Quit trucking, and applied to positions in the Middle East and helped to build a house to make that happen, to get the capital for all the visa fees. I went to the Middle East, to Saudi Arabia, started learning Arabic, continued to learn Mandarin, and continue to write my book, The Nature of Reality. I got fired from that job and moved back here to California, and within about 2 weeks, needed to find a place to live, and moved into a van and started this channel and continue to work on my book. And so I've just been kind of just flat out engaged in very intense experiences for the last year or two. Well, practically the last 15 to 20 years. Yeah, I think it's definitely time for a rest and to do some meditation on my own and unplug from society and technology for a little while. But yeah, no, so I'm excited to maybe go to check out Arcata, maybe check out some churches there, check out some communities around, because I would really like to find a friendly community that's open-minded and unconventional to hang out in and find the kind of acceptance of my lifestyle that I would like, because I still live responsibly and I don't litter, and I make investments and I do things that are responsible. I just don't do things in a way that most people, the image of my life is certainly different from what most people would expect. And I mean, so anyways, so there's that. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, if you got something out of it, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you subscribe, hit the bell or tap the bell icon. There's 3 selections, and hit the very top one so that you get notified about all my videos. I'm thinking about starting a Patreon or Subscribestar, something like that for those who believe in what I'm doing in my way of life and would like to support that. So let me know down in the comments what you think of this lifestyle and your thoughts about the things I've shared today. I'd love to hear about them and have some interactions with you. So I sincerely hope that you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.